Hey my glam girls, welcome back to my channel. It's Chelsea and today I've got a fun little video for us. So I decided to do the eyeshadow tag video. So this video I think was created by Samantha March and Allie Glines, and I will link their videos down below. I saw Jenna Fraze do this video and I was like, I so want to do this. So it's 13 questions asking what this is of my favorite eyeshadow and what this is of this eyeshadow. So I think this would just be a really nice funny video for us to do and talk about some eyeshadows. But before we get into this video, I just want to say thank you guys so much for taking time out of your day to spend some time with me. If this is your first time here, I'd love for you to stick around and subscribe to my channel and join the glam squad over here. And if you are a returning subscriber, well, thank you so much for coming back and deciding to support my channel with all of your likes and your comments. It really does mean a lot to me. So let's get into this video. I got my questions here. Here we go. First question, show your newest palette. And I actually just got this palette today. This is the Charlotte Tilbury, the Pillow Talk palette. So Charlotte Tilbury, here's the palette. Charlotte Tilbury has, I don't know if it's still going on, but she had a sale going on where she was offering 20% off of some bundles. So I was able to get this palette along with one of her blushes for like $92. And this palette alone is $75. And I was like, okay, I've been wanting this. This is a good time to get it. So yes, you'll be seeing that in a video soon. Next question, show your oldest palette. And this has to go to none other than Anastasia Mario Master Palette. Do you guys remember when this palette came out? First of all, look how beat up mine is. Let me tell you, I loved this palette so much. This was the first eyeshadow palette that I actually like legit fell in love with. And I was like, oh, this is what people mean by when they say like, I love this palette, I can't stop using it, I'm obsessed. Like that was this palette was the first time that I actually felt all of those feelings toward an eyeshadow palette. I still love it. I really wish they would come out with it again because I've had it so long, the formula has changed, so it's not as good as it used to be. But that was like my go-to everyday, every type of eyeshadow palette, when it came out. Third, show your most expensive palette. And my most expensive palette would have to be my Natasha Denona palette. So these palettes are $129. They're $4 more than Pat McGrath. So that's what we have here. I love this. As you can see, it is so beat up, but this is such an amazing palette. Stunning. I remember when I was looking at this palette, I'm like, it's a palette full of golds. Like, do I need it? How much diversity can we find between these variations of golds and tans? And then you've got these couple of pops of blue. But let me tell you, every gold that you could think of is in this palette. And you really do get variations of looks. I truly love this one. I would say this is probably my #1 Natasha palette of all the ones that I have. It's so good. So yes, most expensive palette is this one. Show my most affordable palette, and this has to go to e.l.f. Have you seen these bite-sized mini palettes? I have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 of these. These are such great quality and they are $3. The best $3 I have ever spent on any type of makeup product. These are so good. You have to try them if you haven't. My favorite of the ones that I have, Cream and Sugar, and then this is called Rose Water. So pretty. So yes, those are amazing. Show my everyday palette. So here's the thing, I don't really have an everyday palette because I tend to switch up my palettes a lot. Typically, if you check the description box on my videos, rarely will you see me use an eyeshadow palette like 4 videos in a row. But I have been reaching for an eyeshadow palette kind of like over and over again lately. And it would have to be this Scott Barnes Snatchel palette. Y'all, I really cannot stop using this. And I know I was supposed to do a video for you all. And if you really still want me to do a video on this palette, I will. But I have been thoroughly enjoying it. Now, I will say this. For the high price tag that it is, normally, I wouldn't spend that much on it. I got this on sale for 20% off. And that's the price that I would say pay for it. I wouldn't pay full price for this, but I would get it on sale, if that helps you kind of wrap your arm. But the formula is amazing. It's really good. It has every neutral shade that you could want. The shimmers are beautiful. The mattes blend really nice. Like I've just really been reaching for it a lot lately. So this is what I would say this is my go-to palette currently. How about that? Next, show my most colorful palette. And this is going to have to go to the Zulu palette by Juvia's Place. Very pretty, gorgeous colors. All of these colors are very vibrant. Like the colors that you see in the pan are the exact colors that are going to go in your eye, and they blend really good. So for these colors to be so bright and bold and vibrant, I think they blend great. And I think full price, this palette is between $18 and $20, but a lot of times this palette goes on sale between Ulta and Juvia's Place, so you can really get it for even cheaper, but that's a good one. Pretty good and colorful. Show my smallest palette, that's next. So I've already showed the bite-sized palette, so I'm gonna show you all another small one, the Natasha Denona mini palette. So I have two. I have this mini nude palette, and I have the mini Lila palette. I absolutely love the mini nude palette, but yeah, love these to travel with. They pack a punch, really good. The formula on these mini palettes are not always the same for all of them, but those two that I have, I really enjoy. So my biggest palette would have to be my Jaclyn Hill Morphe palette. I do have her original one, but I'm just showing her newest one. So this is the volume 2 one. Really enjoy this one. I almost reached for this one for the colorful one, but I felt like if I covered up some of these brighter colors, then we just kind of get a neutral palette. So this would have to be my biggest one. Covers my entire face. Next is show your palette with your best memory. And so I was trying to think, what palette do I have like a really good memory with? And I'm gonna have to go with Pat McGrath Bronze Seduction. So I chose this palette because this was my first Pat McGrath palette. So I told Sean I wanted this for Christmas. And so this was probably like a week or two before Christmas. A package comes in the mail. Sean's out of town, right? So a package comes in the mail, and like I knew that packages were gonna be sent to the house for me. So I was trying not to look, but you know how you have to look on the package to see if is this for me or is this for him? So I look on the package, I see Sean's name, and then like right above it, I see Pat McGrath, and so I was like, I got the palette, but I didn't want to say anything. So then Sean calls me not even 5 minutes later. He's like, hey, did a package come? And I was like, yeah. And he was like, did you look at the return address? And I was like, I couldn't help it. It was right there. And he was like, well, you might as well open it up, Chelsea, because you already know what it is. I was like, thank you so much. Thank you, thank you. So like I was really excited. It was like an early Christmas gift. I promise y'all I was not looking to be nosy. It just was right there. But I was really happy, and like I remember being just so excited, like I cannot believe I have this expensive palette. Show a palette worth the hype. Okay, so this palette, I remember when it launched, well, when it relaunched, I'll say that. When it relaunched, I was like, I don't need it, I don't need it. It's just a palette full of shimmers, and they're not even the special shades. So this is the Decadence palette by Pat McGrath. Once again, Pat McGrath. I remember being like, I don't need this. It's just a palette of shimmers. It's not even her special shades. And like, I kept feeling FOMO even though it hadn't sold out. But I was like, oh my gosh, what if this sells out and she doesn't bring it back? And I'm trying to collect all the Pat McGrath palettes. Like I need it. So I finally bit the bullet and I bought it. Y'all, these shimmers in this palette, let me just swatch a couple so you can see the intensity. It's like next level shimmers. I was not expecting the intensity of these shimmers to be like this. So it just like blew my mind how, I mean, look at that and look at that. I'm floored, like floored by how beautiful these shimmers are. And it's not that I thought they were going to be bad, but I was just like, oh, if they're just like shimmers, like Pat McGrath does shimmers well, but like, do I really need a palette of shimmers? Ma'am, sir, yes. Yes, you do. No, you don't have to go out here and spend that money for this, but I will say this. If you are interested in this Decadence palette, if you even think for a second you might want it, it's coming back in the summer. Get it. I'm telling you. And the gold packaging is like, come on. It's just, I mean, come on. Come on. It's a conversation starter. It's amazing. So glad I got that one. All jokes aside, so glad I got it. I'm floored. So floored by it. So yes, totally worth it. Now we have a palette that's not worth the hype. So I remember when this palette came out, I was like, I want it so much, but I could not force myself to even wrap my mind around spending $129 on a palette. I was just like, you just got me to buy a $50 palette. I was at that stage. But I remember seeing it, like, I know I would love the color scheme. So last year, this palette went on sale for, like, it went on sale for $99, and then it was still on sale during the Sephora sale, so I got an extra 20% off, and I finally picked it up. The Natasha Denona Sunset Palette. You guys, this palette is gorgeous. Let me tell you, gorgeous. I love every color. I love using it, but it is not worth the full price, because at best, when I use this palette is good, but it is not $129 good. I love the colors. I'm so glad I have this palette, but when I, got it and I started playing around with it, I was like, okay, this is not worth the hype. This is not worth $129. I think if I would have bought it back then, I would have felt disappointed, but I also would have felt like, am I the oddball? Because I like it, but I'm not like obsessed with it. And I remember people were obsessed with this palette when it first came out. So I think this palette is a palette that if you want it, wait till it goes on sale, then get it. But I think her gold palette is a much better formula-wise than the Sunset palette. Just my thoughts. Show your favorite palette from a favorite brand. I'm gonna have to go back with Mother on this one. And I hate to show a repeat, but so far, Mothership 5 is still my favorite. Now, I do believe when I get my hands on that Divine Rose 2, that will be my favorite. I haven't even touched it. I just know what I like. And when I see those pictures, I just feel like we're gonna vibe. Like, I just feel like that's gonna be #1. But until then, Bronze Seduction is still #1. She still reigns supreme. And then the last one, guys, this went by really quickly. Last one, show your most used palette. And you guys, this palette is like ride or die. This used to be my everyday palette, but I haven't reached for this one in so long, so that's why I didn't show it in this video as my everyday one. But the Juvia's Place Nubian palette, y'all, look at this. Look how busted she is. But look at the love. Look at the love that I've shown her. This palette is so pretty, and it still performs really good, and I've had this palette probably a good 4 years now. The shadows still perform really good. The shimmers are like, Juvia's Place makes some of the best shimmers that I know of. They're just so pigmented. I love the mattes because I feel like the mattes are good. They're definitely not creamy mattes. They're more of a dry matte, but they work really well on the eye and they pack a punch. And I love it because for women of color, you have no issues with any of these shadows showing up on your eyes. Even the lighter looking matte shades or the lighter looking shimmers, when you put them on, you see pigment. So like, you can't go wrong with Juvia's Place when you're looking for a palette that you want the colors to show on your skin as the same color that they are in the pan. But this is like, OG, she's a favorite. I love her. Like, she's such a good palette. This is like an OG. I feel like I could see myself purchasing another one of these when these shadows kind of start drying out because I've had it so long, but like keeping this one just for like nostalgia purposes. But guys, that is it. Thank you so much for watching. What did you think of my palette picks and choices and things like that? I think this is such a fun video tag because it's very interesting to see what people think about, you know, what palette they love the most, what palette has a special memory, what palette they feel is not worth the hype. Like, I had a couple of palettes I could have used for that one, but I just went with one that I felt it was so hyped up that, in my opinion, it's not really worth it. But yes, leave some of you all's answers down below. I definitely want to, you know, hear you all's thoughts of what you would answer when you were watching this, and, you know, what some of your favorites were, or what is a palette that you just recently purchased. I'm going to leave the list of questions in the description box below so that if you want to do this, you can definitely do it. I think it's just one of those fun video tags where it's like, yes, let me get to thinking and what are some of my favorites. So I hope that you guys enjoyed this video. Thank you guys so much for watching, and I really hope to see you in my very next video. Bye, guys.